You made up the stories yourself. There was no TV show, no movie, no cartoon that told you what Johnny West was supposed to do or where he was supposed to go. You decided. You put him on the horse, you rode him across the carpet, and whatever happened next came straight out of your head. That was the whole point, and that's why you still remember him. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. His name was Johnny West, and he was 12 inches of hard brown plastic with a soft vinyl face and 2 hands that could grip a rifle, a lasso, or the reins of a Palomino horse named Thunderbolt. He came in a long box with a clear window on the front so you could see him before you opened it, and inside that box were more accessories than any toy you'd ever owned. A hat, a vest, a pair of chaps, a kerchief, spurs, a canteen, a bedroll, a branding iron, 2 pistols, 2 holsters, a rifle and a rifle scabbard, a saddle, a bridle, and saddlebags that actually opened. You spread them all out on the floor, and it took you 20 minutes just to get him dressed. And when he was ready, when every buckle was fastened and the hat was on straight and the rifle was in the scabbard and Thunderbolt was saddled, you had a cowboy. A real one. Yours. Louis Marx and Company made him. You didn't know that then. You didn't know that Louis Marx was called the Henry Ford of the toy industry, or that his company was the biggest toy manufacturer on Earth, or that in 1955 he spent exactly $312 on advertising for the entire year, not $312,312 because he believed the toy should sell itself. You didn't know any of that. You just knew that Johnny West was the best thing you'd ever found under the Christmas tree. And he wasn't alone. That was the genius of it. Marx gave Johnny a whole world. Jane West was his wife, same size, same articulation, same level of detail, dressed in a permanent blue outfit that you couldn't remove no matter how hard your little brother tried. Then came the kids, Jay, Jamie, Josie, Janice. 4 children, each with their own accessories, their own horses, their own place in the family. Chief Cherokee rode with Johnny as his companion. Geronimo and Fighting Eagle were out there somewhere on the ridge. Sam Cobra was the villain. Dark clothes, dark horse, and a face that looked like trouble even in plastic. General Custer showed up later with a cavalry uniform and a reputation that preceded him. Every figure you added made the world bigger. Every horse you saddled gave you another story to tell, and the stories were yours, all yours. G.I. Joe had a war to fight. He had a uniform and a mission and a history that was printed on the box. But Johnny West had nothing except what you gave him. He could be a rancher driving cattle across the living room. He could be a lawman chasing Sam Cobra behind the couch. He could be a father loading his family onto the buckboard wagon for a trip across the plains. Your carpet, your world. No script, no instructions. Just a boy and a cowboy and an afternoon that lasted forever. You remember the floor. You always played on the floor. The kitchen table was too small once Thunderbolt and the covered wagon were involved, so you spread everything out on the carpet. The figures standing in rows, the horses lined up, the tiny accessories arranged in little piles, because if you lost one in the shag carpet, you would never find it again. Your mother vacuumed around you. Your sister stepped on Geronimo. Your dog carried Thunderbolt into the backyard, and you did not speak to him for a week. Those accessories were sacred. Every canteen, every pistol, every microscopic spur. You knew where each one belonged, and losing even one felt like a real loss. You remember the Sears catalog, the page with Johnny West, and all the figures lined up. Chief Cherokee on one side, the horses across the bottom, the covered wagon in the corner. You circled the ones you wanted with a pencil. You showed your mother. She said maybe for your birthday. You went back to that page every day after school and stared at it until the paper started to wear through. When your friend down the street got General Custer before you did, it burned. when you finally got your own Thunderbolt, the big Palomino with the nodding head and the full saddle set. It was one of the best days of your life. You're smiling right now just thinking about it. And when the neighborhood kids came over, the living room became the territory. Your Johnny versus his Johnny. Your Sam Cobra ambushing his chief Cherokee behind the leg of the coffee table. You made alliances. You broke them. You had full-scale battles with rules that changed every 5 minutes and nobody cared, because the rules were yours too. When it got dark and your mother called you in for dinner, you left them all standing on the floor exactly where they were, because tomorrow the story would continue right where you left off. The Westerns were everywhere back then. Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Rifleman, The Big Valley, Rawhide. Every night on television, cowboys rode across the desert and did the right thing, and the next morning you got on the floor and made Johnny do the same. He wasn't an astronaut or a soldier or a superhero, he was a cowboy. And in the 1960s, that was the greatest thing a man could be. The whole country believed it. Your father watched those shows, and you watched your father watching them, and then you went to your room and picked up Johnny and played out what you'd seen, except better, because you were in charge. The Westerns started disappearing in the early 70s. One by one, the shows were canceled. Bonanza ended in 1973. Gunsmoke held on until 1975, 20 years on the air. The longest-running primetime drama in history, and then it was gone too. The cowboys were replaced by cops, by lawyers, by detectives and sports cars. And when Star Wars came out in 1977, the whole world shifted. Suddenly, every boy wanted a lightsaber, not a lasso. The action figure aisle went from cowboys and soldiers to stormtroopers and Wookiees overnight. Johnny West, who had ridden the toy shelves for 12 years, looked like a relic from another century. And in a way, he was. There was something about the way they were made, hard polyplastic bodies, solid as a rock. You could drop Johnny off the back of the couch and he'd bounce off the floor without a scratch. The joints clicked when you moved them, knees, hips, shoulders, and they held whatever position you put them in. He could stand on his own. He could sit on a horse without falling off. He could hold a rifle in one hand and the reins in the other, for a toy made in a quarter-mile-long factory in Glendale, West Virginia. It was the same building where Fokker once built airplanes, and he felt like he was built to last 100 years. 2,000 men and women worked in that factory, making toys for your Christmas. And maybe he was built to last, because some of the men watching this right now still have theirs sitting in a box somewhere, waiting. But the man who made him was getting tired. Louis Marx was 76 years old in 1972, and he had been building toys since 1919. 53 years. He started as a 16-year-old kid working for a toy importer, built his own company with his brother David, and by the 1950s, he was the biggest toy manufacturer on the planet. Fortune magazine called him the Toy King. Time magazine confirmed it. He ran factories in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, England, Japan, Mexico, Australia, Brazil, and South Africa. 2,000 people worked in the Glendale plant alone. The old Fokker aircraft factory, a quarter-mile long, turning out millions of toys a year. And the man who ran it all didn't believe in advertising. $312 in 1955. That's what he spent. Because Louis Marx believed that if the toy was good enough, it would sell itself. And for half a century, he was right. He sold the company to Quaker Oats for $52 million. The cereal company that made your breakfast now owned the Cowboy that made your childhood. And they had no idea what to do with him. Quaker raised the overhead, cut the military product line because of Vietnam, refused to invest in electronics, and after 52 straight years of profit, Marx Toys lost money for the first time. 3 years later, Quaker dumped the company to a British conglomerate for $15 million, a loss of nearly $40 million. By 1980, the last factory closed. 800 workers in Glendale walked out for the last time. The machines stopped, the quarter-mile building went dark, and Johnny West rode off into a sunset that nobody had written for him. Louis Marx died in 1982 at 85. He was the first inductee in the Toy Industry Hall of Fame. The man who believed a toy should sell itself, gone. His company liquidated, his factories empty, his name remembered only by the people who played with what he made. If you're watching this and you still have your Johnny West, go find him. Open the box or the drawer or the bin in the attic where he's been sitting for 50 years. Be gentle because the plastic changes over time. The rubber accessories get sticky, the hip springs lose tension, the vinyl faces yellow. He's fragile now in ways he never was when you were 8. But he's still there, still standing, still wearing the hat you put on him the first time. And if you do not have him anymore, if your mother gave him away, or he got lost in a move, or he ended up in a garage sale you did not know about, you can still find him. There are men and women on the internet right now who have spent decades collecting every figure, every horse, every tiny accessory, just so they can sell complete sets to people like you who want to hold him one more time. One of them started his whole collection after a Christmas dinner when someone asked about favorite childhood gifts. His answer was immediate: Johnny West, Christmas 1965. He's been buying and selling them ever since, and he says the thing that keeps him going is the thank you messages. People write to tell him that opening that box again and seeing the hat, the vest, the chaps, the pistols, put them right back on the living room floor. 8 years old, carpet under their knees, a whole afternoon ahead of them. Nobody telling them what the story was supposed to be. Some of you have shown Johnny to your grandchildren. You pulled him out of a box in the closet and put him in their hands and watched their face. And for a second it was confusing to them because he does not light up, he does not make sounds, he does not connect to an app. He just stands there 12 inches tall with a hat and a horse and a story that has not been written yet. And if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, one of them sat down on the floor and started to play, and you saw it. The same thing that happened to you. The imagination taking over, the story beginning, and you had to leave the room because you did not want them to see your face. That's what happened to Johnny West. The company that made him is gone. The factory is closed. The man who built it is buried in the Bronx. The Westerns are not on television anymore. The carpet you played on has been replaced 3 times. The Sears catalog does not exist. The shag rug is gone. The coffee table your Sam Cobra hid behind is in a landfill somewhere. But the stories you made up, the ones where Johnny rode across the plains and saved the day and came home to Jane and the kids and Thunderbolt was waiting outside, those are still in your head. Nobody can cancel those. Nobody can sell those to a cereal company. Nobody can liquidate them in bankruptcy court. They're yours. They always were. If Johnny West was part of your childhood, tell us in the comments, what was the first adventure you ever sent him on?